Today we're going to talk about the surface area and volume of cones. And before we get into, cones and pyramids, cones and pyramids. Before we get into the formulas, we are going to talk about the slant height, because this is unique to these formulas. The slant height is what I'm tracing on the edge or the lateral face of the pyramid and the cone, and we represent that by a cursive L. What I'm also going to draw is your favorite shape inside this pyramid, which is a right triangle, and also inside this cone forms a right triangle. So what you will notice is that you have the slant height, and then this is the actual height of the figure. So we do represent that by H. The bottom part of the right triangle is the radius for your cone. But if we're talking about our square pyramid, because we're going to specifically be talking just about square pyramids, it's not the radius, but it's going to be half of the side length. So we're going to be using our Pythagorean theorem, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, if we don't have the height or the radius or the slant height. So let's go ahead and go into our formulas, which are all on our formula sheet. We'll start with the cone. Surface area and volume. On your formula sheet, the surface area of a cone, and I'll just write it up for you one time, is pi r squared plus pi r L. And really, this part is pi r squared. Remember, that's a circle, so that talks about the base of your cone. Pi r L is the lateral area, which is on your formula sheet. So let's go ahead and plug in our values. Pi times radius 3 squared plus pi times radius 3. And our slant height, they do give us as 5. So for surface area of our cone, wrong side of the equal sign, our surface area, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep it in terms of pi like I've been doing, is 24 pi. Oh, I'm making mistakes today. For our volume, once again, it's on the formula sheet. It is 1/3 our pi radius squared in h. This time, we're talking about the h. Well, we don't have our height. So this is where we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared equals 3 squared plus h squared. And we'll get our height to be 4. So plugging into the formula, 1/3 pi, radius 3 squared, height as 4. So when you simplify that, you should get 12 pi as your volume. Surface area and volume. Go ahead and try the next one on your own. And here we go. With all the work and with the Pythagorean theorem, they don't give you the slant height this time. So 12.4 is your slant height. Surface area is 46.2 pi. Let's take a look at the volume. You should get the volume to be 36 pi. Okay, make sure you got that right. Let's go ahead and do a word problem. This says the lateral area of a cone. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the lateral area formula of a cone down, which is lateral area equals pi r L. Let's plug in our values. It gives us, it is 4.8 pi equal to pi. The radius they give us is 1.2, and we're trying to find the slant height. So really, we're going to divide out by pi first. Those cancel out, pi's cancel out, and you're left with 4.8 equals 1.2 L. And when you divide out, you'll get the slant height to be 4. So just make sure you're reading and using the proper formula. All right, this is more of an application. We're trying to find the surface area. We have a cone, so we're doing the surface area of a cone and the surface area of a cylinder, which we've already talked about. So let's take note, though, that surface area is the outside part. That means this circle in here we don't actually include. So that means we don't include the base of our cone. So if we're not including the base of our cone, we're actually going to use the lateral area of the cone to figure out the bottom part. But with this cylinder, our sphere, with our cylinder, we're not going to use the bottom part. So remember, the surface area formula for a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. This part of the formula represents our bases, our circles. Well, we're not going to include one, so we're going to take out that 2 from the formula and just use pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So let's go ahead and fill in our values. For the surface area of the cylinder, we have pi, the radius is 5 squared, plus 2 pi radius 5, and then the height is 6. So plugging in those values, and I'm going to keep this in terms of pi, will be 85 pi. Okay? Now, the lateral area of the cone, we're going to do pi RL. So pi times the radius, which is 5, but they do not give us our slant height for the cone. So when we redraw that, we have 5, we have 12, and x. When you do the Pythagorean theorem, 12 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. Your value of the slant height is 13. So now, keeping this in terms of pi, you should get 65 pi. Let's go ahead and add these two values together. That will give us 150 pi, but the direction saves to the nearest whole number. So what you have to do is type this value in, 150 times pi. You'll get about 471.2, so the nearest whole number is about 471. Final answer. Let's go ahead and look at the pyramids. Now remember, I said we're going to specifically just deal with square pyramids, okay? But in our formula for the surface area, we have 1/2 our slant height times p. And so remember, p equals the perimeter of the base. Well, our base is a square, so the formula is 4s for that, plus the big B. And remember, big B means area of the base. And so the area of a square will be side squared. So we'll be using those two formulas within the volume and surface area formulas. So let's do 1/2. The slant height, they do give us 11. Our P is going to be 4 times 12, which is 48. Plus our big B, which is 12 squared, or 144. So that's what we're plugging into the formula. So when you do all your math and your arithmetic, you should get 408 inches, and since this is surface area, squared. When we want to find volume, volume is 1/3 big B times h. So 1/3, we found the big B to be 144. We do not have the height of our triangle, so let me redraw this triangle. Remember, we're going to use not the whole base of 12, but half of that. So 6 will go down here. When you figure that out and do Pythagorean theorem, you get the height to be about 9.2 rounded. So that will go as your height, 9.2. Okay, figuring all this out, you should get the volume to be 441.6. And since we're doing volume, it's not squared, it's actually cubed. So that's your final answer. Go ahead and try the next one on your own, surface area and volume. All right, here are the answers and all the work. Okay, so surface area, 66.4. They don't give you the slant height, so you had to redraw your triangle. And remember, you're using 2 and not 4. And perimeter and the area, actually the same thing because the side length is 4. Volume equals 32. All right, thanks for watching.